The Jordan Show on YouTube.
Welcome back, everybody. We're diving into a sequence that you might think you know, but trust me, it's got way more going on than meets the eye. It's the Fibonacci sequence.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
You remember this from math class. You start with a 0 and a 1,
Right.
and then each number is the sum of the two before it.
Mm-hmm.
0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, and on and on.
It goes on forever.
And you would not believe
Infinitely.
how often this simple pattern shows up
Yeah.
all over the place. It's like everywhere.
It really is. It's remarkable. You see it in nature. You see it in art. You see it in technology.
Yeah.
It's almost like, I don't know, like a hidden code.
Mm.
The universe uses for growth and organization.
A hidden code. That's I like that. But before we crack that code wide open, I'm kind of curious about the guy who first kind of, brought this to the West, Fibonacci himself.
Right.
Was he just some lone genius who just stumbled upon this pattern?
Well, not quite. His actual name was Leonardo of Pisa.
Yeah.
He was born around 1170. And his father was a merchant who ran a trading post in North Africa.
Wow.
So Fibonacci was exposed to all sorts of cultures and mathematical ideas
Yeah.
from a very young age.
So maybe not a lone genius, but definitely in the right place at the right time.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
He was, very fortunate to have that upbringing.
Right.
And one of the biggest things he brought back to Europe was the Indo-Arabic numeral system,
Okay.
the one that, we use today.
Yeah.
Can you imagine trying to do math with Roman numerals all the time?
Ooh, just the thought of long division
Yeah.
with Roman numerals gives me a headache.
All right.
So Fibonacci's work really set the stage for a lot of mathematical progress then.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And within that work, he popularized the Fibonacci sequence, although it was already known in India.
Uh-huh.
One of the most famous examples is this problem about rabbit population growth in his book Liber Abaci. So imagine, you start with one pair of rabbits. They reproduce after a month. And each new pair starts reproducing after their second month. How many pairs do you have after a year?
Okay, I'm already lost in a sea of imaginary bunnies here.
Right.
Does this actually help explain the sequence though?
It does. The answer to that rabbit problem falls right into the Fibonacci sequence.
Okay.
So you start with one pair, then still one, then two, then three, then five. Each month's total is the sum of the two before it. So it's almost like nature's is doing the math for us.
So the rabbits were just a fun way to illustrate this bigger idea of the sequence itself.
Right.
But hold on.
Yeah.
If the sequence was already known in India,
Right.
why is Fibonacci so famous for it?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah.
Fibonacci's contribution wasn't so much about discovering the sequence, but rather bringing it to the attention of European mathematicians.
Ah, okay.
It's like he built a bridge between different mathematical worlds, and that had a huge impact on how math developed in the West.
Okay, so Fibonacci helped put the sequence on the map.
Exactly.
Yeah. But there's another player in this story, right? The golden ratio.
Right.
Everyone's always going on about this divine proportion and all that. How does that tie into the Fibonacci sequence?
That's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
So the golden ratio is approximately 1.618. And as you go further down the Fibonacci sequence, the ratio between consecutive numbers gets closer and closer to that golden ratio.
So they're two sides of the same mathematical coin?
Yeah, you can think of it that way.
Okay. But what makes the golden ratio so special in the first place?
Yeah.
Why is it popping up everywhere, from ancient architecture to modern art?
Well, think of it this way. Imagine you're baking a cake, and you're trying to get the perfect balance of ingredients.
Okay, yeah.
Not too sweet, not too bland.
Yeah.
Just right. The golden ratio is kind of like that perfect recipe, but for visual aesthetics.
I see.
So nature seems to use this ratio to create the most visually appealing and harmonious forms. And artists and architects have been tapping into that for centuries.
So the Fibonacci sequence and the golden ratio are connected. The golden ratio is all about this natural beauty and harmony.
Yeah.
But how does that actually play out in the real world? Give me some examples.
Okay, let's start with nature. Have you ever really looked at a sunflower head?
I have to admit, I've probably never really given them much thought.
Okay, well, those spirals of seeds
Yeah.
often follow Fibonacci numbers.
Oh, wow.
It's the most efficient way to pack a ton of seeds into a small space and ensure each seed gets enough sunlight. We see similar patterns in pine cones, the arrangement of leaves on stems.
Yeah.
It's called phyllotaxis, which basically means the way plants arrange their parts.
Okay, so I'm starting to see Fibonacci everywhere now. But are we saying that plants are like doing complex calculations to figure out where to put their leaves?
No, not exactly. It's more about how these patterns emerge naturally from simple rules of growth and efficiency. The Fibonacci sequence, with its connection to the golden ratio, just seems to provide the most effective framework for those rules to play out.
So it's not like conscious math, but more like inherent efficiency.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it goes beyond just plants.
Okay.
In idealized scenarios, the Fibonacci sequence can even model population growth. Think back to those rabbits.
Right.
It highlights how this simple mathematical pattern can reflect broader trends in nature.
Wow. Okay. I'm already mind blown, and we're just getting started here. We got sunflowers, we got pine cones, we got rabbit populations.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling this goes way beyond nature, right?
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Next, we're going to jump into the world of technology
Okay.
and see how the Fibonacci sequence sneaks its way into some pretty surprising places.
Yeah, it really is remarkable how a sequence from the 12th century is still relevant in cutting-edge fields like computer science.
Okay, color me skeptical. I get how this works in nature.
Yeah.
But how does it apply to something like technology? I mean, isn't that all algorithms and code, not ancient math?
You'd be surprised.
Okay.
One of the clearest examples is in agile development.
Okay.
It's a project management style that focuses on flexibility and collaboration. And guess what? They use Fibonacci numbers all the time.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah.
Software developers are using a medieval math sequence. I need more details on this.
Okay, so picture this. You're on an agile team.
Yeah.
And you're trying to figure out like how much effort each task will take.
Right.
So instead of getting bogged down in like exact estimates, you use Fibonacci numbers, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, and so on, to assign points based on the task's complexity. So it's like a shorthand for like gauging the size of a task.
Exactly.
But why not just use like regular numbers? What's so special about Fibonacci for this?
Well, two things. First, as the numbers get bigger, the gaps between them also increase. So this reflects the reality that larger, more complex tasks have more uncertainty, so it's harder to pinpoint like their exact effort.
Right, yeah.
And second, humans are actually better at comparing relative sizes than making absolute judgments.
Okay.
So Fibonacci numbers just tap into that natural ability, making estimation faster and more intuitive.
Okay, that's actually pretty clever. It's like acknowledging that software development is inherently a bit, messy and unpredictable.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And by using Fibonacci numbers, you streamline the process and you focus on what matters most, the relative size of tasks compared to one another.
All right. I'm starting to see the appeal,
Okay.
but agile development is just one example, right? Where else does this sequence pop up in technology?
Well, how about something a bit more visually stunning?
Okay.
Fractal imaging.
Fractals. Oh, those crazy, infinitely detailed images.
Yes.
I remember being mesmerized by those screensavers back in the day. How on earth do Fibonacci numbers fit into that?
So fractals are all about self-similarity.
Okay.
Repeating patterns at different scales.
Yeah.
And those patterns often rely on mathematical formulas that incorporate Fibonacci numbers to create those mesmerizing visuals.
So they're like the scaffolding for these intricate, organic-looking images.
Exactly, yeah. Fibonacci numbers provide a way to translate the mathematical language of nature into the digital realm.
Okay.
Resulting in images that are both complex and strangely familiar.
It's amazing how a sequence discovered centuries ago can be used to create these like cutting edge visuals. It really highlights this idea of a hidden code, like you were saying earlier, connecting these seemingly unrelated areas.
It certainly does. Makes you wonder about the underlying order of things.
Yeah.
But let's shift gears a bit and move from the digital world to the realm of human creativity. Art and architecture.
Okay.
The golden ratio, so closely linked to our Fibonacci sequence.
Yeah.
has played a really fascinating role throughout history.
Oh yeah, I've heard about this, like how the ancient Greeks used it to design the Parthenon and other like iconic structures. But I always thought that was more of like an art history myth than anything concrete.
Well, it's a myth with a lot of evidence to back it up.
Okay.
The golden ratio is found in the proportions of countless works of art and architecture throughout history, suggesting that that humans have been intuitively drawn to this ratio for its aesthetic harmony.
So it's not just about like plants and computer programs. Even our sense of beauty is somehow tied to this mathematical sequence.
Yeah, it really seems that way.
Give me some examples. How do artists and architects actually use the golden ratio?
Okay, well, think back to the Parthenon.
Okay.
Um, Many scholars believe its designers deliberately incorporated the golden ratio into its dimensions. The spacing of the columns, even the overall layout, it's believed to contribute to the structure's sense of balance and grandeur.
I'm starting to see why people call it the divine proportion.
Yeah,
But it wasn't just the ancient Greeks, right? Weren't there more modern artists who used it too?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Take Salvador Dali, the surrealist master.
Yeah.
His painting, The Sacrament of the Last Supper, features the golden ratio very
Yeah.
prominently in its composition.
Wow, from ancient temples to surrealist masterpieces, it really shows how this ratio has captivated artists across, cultures and time periods.
It speaks to a possible deep connection between mathematics,
Yeah.
aesthetics, and human perception. Perhaps our brains are wired to find beauty in these mathematical proportions,
Mm.
whether we're consciously aware of it or not.
Okay, so we've covered nature, we've covered technology,
Hmm?
we've covered art. Where else does this rabbit hole lead? Or should I say Fibonacci spiral?
Well, we can't forget about music.
Oh, right.
Even
Yeah.
though it seems abstract. Fibonacci and the golden ratio
Yeah.
have their place in melodies and rhythms as well.
Okay, this I got here. How does math sneak its way into music? Are we talking about like hidden messages encoded in melodies or something?
Not quite hidden messages, but definitely hidden patterns,
Okay.
musical scales,
Mm.
the intervals between notes, even the way musical sections are arranged
Yeah.
can sometimes be linked back to the Fibonacci sequence and the golden ratio.
Hmm.
And some composers have deliberately woven these mathematical concepts into their music, believing it creates a natural flow and balance.
So it's like there's this underlying mathematical harmony that resonates with our ears, whether we realize it or not.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder if these patterns tap into something fundamental about how our brains process and appreciate beauty, whether it's in a symphony, a painting, or even a simple flower.
This is blowing my mind. It's like we've been surrounded by this hidden code all along, and we're just now starting to decipher it.
It certainly speaks to a deeper level of order and interconnectedness
Yeah.
than we might perceive at first glance.
So after this whirlwind tour of Fibonacci in everything from sunflowers to symphonies, what's the big takeaway for our listeners? Why should they care about this sequence?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that the Fibonacci sequence is more than just some cool math trick.
Right.
It's a reminder that there are these underlying patterns and connections in the world
Yeah.
that we might not always see.
Right.
And understanding those patterns can actually change the way we experience things.
So it's like the secret language
Yeah.
that connects nature, art, technology,
Yeah.
maybe even the universe itself.
Precisely. And the more we learn about this language, the more we realize just how much we don't know. It's a humbling reminder that there's always more to discover.
I love that. It's like this never-ending quest for knowledge. But I have to ask, if the Fibonacci sequence is just one example of these hidden patterns, what else might be out there?
Yeah.
What other mathematical secrets are waiting to be unlocked?
That's the beauty of it. We don't know.
Yeah.
But that's what makes exploration so exciting.
Right.
There are likely countless other patterns, codes, relationships that govern the universe, just waiting for someone to uncover them.
So for our listeners out there, the next time you're marveling at a sunflower, or listening to a symphony, or even just planning your next project, take a moment to think about the hidden patterns at play. You might be surprised by what you find.
And remember, curiosity is key. Stay open to new ideas.
Yeah.
Keep asking questions.
Uh,
And who knows what other wonders you might discover. The Fibonacci sequence is just the beginning of the adventure.
yeah. And, kind of makes you wonder, right? I mean, if the Fibonacci sequence is just one example of these hidden patterns,
Right.
what else is out there? What other mathematical secrets are waiting to be unlocked?
Yeah, that's a great question.
It is.
I mean, it really is kind of mind-blowing to think about.
It is. It's and that's the beauty of it. We don't know.
Yeah, it's like this. It's like a vast uncharted territory of mathematical knowledge just waiting to be explored. It is, and that's what makes exploration so exciting, right? I mean, there are likely countless other uh, patterns, codes, relationships out there that govern the universe, just waiting for someone to come along and uncover them.
So for our listeners out there, the next time you're admiring a flower, or looking at a piece of art,
Right.
or even just coding a website or something, take a moment to think about those hidden patterns that might be at play.
Yeah.
You might be surprised by what you find.
Absolutely, and remember, curiosity is key here. Stay open to new ideas. Keep asking questions, and who knows what other wonders you might discover out there. The Fibonacci sequence is really just the beginning of the adventure.
Well, on that note, we're going to have to wrap things up for today. But to our listeners, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the Fibonacci sequence. We'll see you next time.